I've always been a man of fire and iron, forging my life in the heart of fog-shrouded Thornridge, where medieval spires pierce the mist like forgotten bones. My name is Amon, and as the master blacksmith, I've hammered out a reputation not just with anvil and hammer, but with something far older and more perilous. In the dead of night, I invoke ancient rituals to summon forge demons, infernal helpers called forth through induced sleep paralysis. It's a tricky business, lying frozen in my cot, willing the barrier between worlds to thin just enough. These entities, flickering like embers in the dark, lend their unholy strength to my craft, allowing me to forge indestructible weapons for warriors desperate enough to pay the price. Swords that never dull, axes that cleave armor like parchment. But lately, I've noticed the cost creeping in, my fingers stiffening like cooling stone after each summoning, an odd tightness I shake off with a laugh, blaming age or the chill. Still, it's a grim reminder that nothing comes free, especially power borrowed from the abyss. Business had been slow, my forge on the brink of collapse with debts piling up like unsold ingots. One stormy night, I pushed the ritual further than ever, lying down and chanting the old words under my breath, inviting the paralysis to grip me like an old friend. My body locked up, eyes wide open in the dim workshop light. And that's when it came. A monstrous demon, larger and more terrifying than ever before. Its form, a swirling mass of molten shadows and glowing cracks. It didn't speak, but its presence hammered at my mind, guiding my frozen hands in a dreamlike trance to forge a legendary sword. The blade emerged, perfect, unmatched in power, humming with an otherworldly edge that could slice through fate itself. But as the demon faded into the ether, the toll struck hard. Stiffness raced up my arms like liquid stone, petrifying my limbs from the elbows down. Then the whispers began, hallucinatory promises of eternal entrapment in stone, echoing long after I could move again. I stared at my hands, flexing them painfully, and wondered if I'd finally forged my own doom. The petrification didn't stop there. It crept upward, day by day, a relentless tide turning flesh to rock. Desperate, I pored over forbidden grimoires hidden in my attic, their pages brittle with secrets. I even sought out old Silas, the shadowed eldersmith who lived on the village's edge, his eyes like faded coals. "The demons siphon your essence, boy," he rasped over a flickering lantern. "They're not helping. They're feeding." Each night, the sleep paralysis intensified, unleashing molten shadows that danced around my bed, taunting me with visions of my body crumbling to dust. They compelled me to keep crafting, whispering that more weapons would stave off the stone's advance. I hammered away, paranoia gnawing at my mind as my legs grew heavy, mobility fading to a torturous crawl. Friends avoided me, whispering about the cursed smith, and I began to question every shadow in my forge. Was it just the fire, or something watching back? I couldn't let it end me. In a final desperate gambit amid the paralyzing terror of night, I prepared a blood-soaked ritual, mixing my own blood with a rare elusive herb said to counter petrification. I forged a cursed blade, not for sale, but as bait, Lying there, body locked, I called them forth. The demons swarmed in a frenzy of molten fury, their forms twisting like liquid fire, striving to encase me fully in stone. The air thickened with heat and screams, mine or theirs I couldn't tell. In that nightmarish haze, I battled through sheer will, reversing the summoning bond and forcing their power back upon them. My veins burned as the stone crept inches from my heart, but I held on, chanting until the last demon imploded in a vortex of ash and embers, its final wail echoing into oblivion. The bond shattered, and with it, the stone's advance. A hair's breadth from my throat, leaving my body a fractured mosaic of flesh and rock, jagged stone veins pulsing like molten scars beneath my skin. Gasping, I broke free from the paralysis and collapsed onto the stone-cold floor of my workshop. Dawn's weak light filtered through the fog outside, and as strength trickled back into my limbs, I knew I'd won, at least this battle. The demons were banished, their whispers silenced, the petrification arrested just inches from claiming me whole. But victory tasted of soot and regret. Endless nightmares would haunt my sleep, visions of molten shadows forever etched in my mind. With trembling hands, I seized my hammer one last time, not to forge, but to destroy. I razed the forge to rubble, flames devouring the anvil and grimoires as I swore off the ancient rituals forever. No longer would I tempt the abyss for power. I'd live as a simple man in Thornridge, amid mist-shrouded spires that now seemed less like bones and more like warnings. I've always been a man of fire and iron. Now the fire's gone out, and the iron weighs heavy in my veins. Lately, a persistent stiffness creeps into my joints, unbidden like an unkept promise. Each night, as I lie down, paralysis teases at the edges, uninvited. I wonder, was it ever truly my will that summoned them? Or have they forged me into their eternal vessel? The abyss stares back, and I fear it's still hungry.